Well, thanks for logging on for a checkup on the latest with Hurricane Erin. This video as of about 6:30 on Monday evening. So we're tracking the storm, obviously still extremely powerful and getting a little bit closer, still about 800 miles away from the Carolinas. So this is something far off in the distance, but all the while still making a big impact to places like the Caribbean, the Turks and Caicos, the closest areas right now, some of the southern Bahamas as well. The storm itself, we're still waiting on that all-important turn to the north and then the turn to the northeast. We need that to happen for it to miss the Carolinas. The good news is that, boy, that still is expected. It's interesting whenever you watch and track the movement of hurricanes like this. You'd think they'd kind of chug along in a straight line, but instead they actually kind of wobble a little bit. We can see this as evidenced by how it's been chugging along today. Notice it went northwest for a little while, west, then back northwest, and lately it's been a little bit more northerly. It kind of maneuvers more like a staircase than it does like a straight line. So don't let that disturb you if you're tracking this on your own. If you see it looking like it's jogging to the west, it'll likely jog off to the north next up. That's the way that these things work, and you can see for yourself kind of the herky-jerky nature. In fact, the stronger the hurricane, the more it can tend to wobble like that. Hurricane Erin, this is the 5 o'clock advisory. We'll get new strength numbers at 8 o'clock this evening, and then new track and numbers and intensity at 11 o'clock. As of 5 o'clock, though, it is still a Category 4 storm moving northwest pretty slowly, only at about 10 miles per hour. This thing is not in a hurry. We'd like it to speed up a little bit. It's not doing that right now. It's about 700 miles southwest of Bermuda. It's about 800 miles southeast of the Carolinas. The expected track from here is generally like this. Now let's show it to you a little bit more cleanly. This is the Hurricane Center forecast cone. And as always, when we show this to you, it's important to understand what you're looking at. What this means is a path to the north and to the northeast. But the bounds of this are pretty important. What the Hurricane Center is saying is, hey, we have some certainty it's going to pass somewhere in between these goalposts. And when they say the center of it, that's really what they mean. The center of the storm is going to pass in between those goalposts. If it takes a track somewhere like this, there's going to be some real nasty weather at the Outer Banks because hurricanes are hundreds of miles wide. Erin is too. And so this is a fairly close approach to the Outer Banks. That's why right now that yellow shaded area, that indicates a new alert. That's a tropical storm watch. What that's saying is that by the middle and end of the week, Wednesday into Thursday, tropical storm force conditions are possible in the Outer Banks, especially the fragile most areas like Hatteras Island and Ocracoke Island. That's where the winds could be the highest and also where you could see some of that coastal overwash too. When we talk about really high waves, they just go right over the sand dunes and there's not much more to the Outer Banks than just simply some sand dunes. So that could flood those islands as we go into later on this week. Just to kind of show our work here and prove to you that this turn is very expected, this is that spaghetti plot we kind of call it. What it really is a bunch of different computer models all forecasting the storm. Last week, boy, this was a really wide spread of models and different possibilities. Now it's tightened up. It's close to the Carolinas, which isn't good, but they're all offshore, which should keep that strongest eye wall energy offshore, not just by a little bit, but by a couple hundred miles. I can show this to you in a different way. These are the odds of seeing tropical storm force conditions later on this week. Hey, by the way, if you're watching from the inland Carolinas, nothing. We're not doing anything this week. There's not any impact over here. However, for the coastal areas, Hatteras sticks out like a sore thumb. The Outer Banks, they stick out in the ocean the most. That's why they have the best chance of seeing some higher winds. So this would be the odds of 40 mile per hour or greater wind speeds this week. It's highest over there, not all that high at all in Wilmington. They're not likely to see high winds there. But what we will notice are high waves, and this has already been an issue so far this week. Rip currents, the high waves, that's a big factor. And beaches in North Carolina. Tell you what, these yellow shaded colors, this would be on Thursday, that represents 20-foot waves. That's not too far offshore. In the Outer Banks, 15-foot waves plus are possible. Wilmington area more like 5 to 10 feet. Either way, those are the type of waves that take a lot of sand off the beach, they cause coastal erosion, and in the case of the Outer Banks, they can shut down Highway 12. So that's why evacuations have been ordered for Hatteras Island and also for Ocracoke. Let's talk about the rip currents. This is Monday, and we've already had at least 50 rip current rescues. you got to stay out of the water this week. It's just that simple. It doesn't matter which beach you're going to. Surf City reported a similar thing about 15 rip current rescues. Stay out of the water. It's only going to get more dangerous throughout the week. I know it's tempting because the weather's beautiful and it'll stay pretty nice through Wednesday. On Thursday, we'll start to see some clouds along the coastal areas. That's our model, keeping the storm center about 200 miles offshore. But take a look. It's also saying you could have wind gusts of over 50 miles per hour at Cape Hatteras. That's a bit of a concern, isn't it? So the water overwashing is the main concern, the rip currents too, but those gusty winds in the Outer Banks could cause a couple of power outages as well, even though they're built for winds out there. The weather setup locally for the rest of the Carolinas is pretty vanilla. We're not seeing all that much going on this week. Some sunshine, scattered clouds too for the next couple of days. High temperatures will be in the 80s. There's that buzzsaw though, impossible to ignore. Just look at the size of Hurricane Erin too. It's basically the size of the Carolinas. On Wednesday, it starts to move north and then it'll move farther out to sea by Thursday and Friday. Back here at home where we're located in the Greensboro area, we'll expect some clouds Tuesday morning with some sunshine for Tuesday afternoon. It won't be quite as hot as it has been and will still be humid, but again, nothing super oppressive. It's typical August weather. Going through the rest of the week, we take a look at some of the dew points. Well, it's still pretty muggy for now, but it'll get a little bit less by the upcoming weekend and into next week. We could actually see a little bit of fall-like relief. There's your forecast, staying mostly dry and really no impacts from the hurricane at all here in the Triad area. We'll keep you posted as Hurricane Erin sends some rougher weather toward the Outer Banks throughout the week.